Good evening. Thank you for joining. Happy Chanukah to everyone. As Hashem, I'd like to invite everyone. This Matzah Shabbos, Maayon Yisroel is going to be having a Malava Malka Chanukah party. Kumzitz. It's going to be really special. Come join us. Like we've had the lives of the tzaddikim. So look out for the emails for the further information regarding that. And also, Be'ez Hashem, on Sunday morning, we're going to have special Chanukah Rosh Chodesh davening. The way we celebrate at Maayon, with Shira, Zimra, with song and music, and a little taste of the way Hallel is going to be sung in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi Be'ez Hashem. Today's class, this week's CD has been dedicated by the Manella family, and this is in honor, l'schus, a very special man here in the communities, Reb Zalman Manella, Olav Shalom, who has been spreading Torah for so many years, giving out so many Torah CDs, and that's where I feel a deep connection, because I was giving CDs and he's giving CDs, and we were in the same business, me and Reb Zalman Manella. And we want to dedicate this class, the Manella family is dedicating this class for the schus of his neshama, Reb Zalman Leib, ben Reb Shimon Olav Shalom. May this be a big, big, big schus to him, to his neshama, and may the family only know of simcha, no more sorrow. And Be'ez Hashem, as we've been talking so much, that we're living already at the very, 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 very end of the Galus, and at the very, very, very onset of the redemption, things just have to click. That's all that's needed. We're mamish there, things need to click. And at that time, all those that are up there are going to come back down over here. So Be'ez Hashem should bless that there should be a very short separation. And all neshamas should come back in their physical bodies where they belong, because this is where the Eibishter desire to have a home, in the physical world. A measure for measure. Our commemoration and celebration has to fit the nature of the danger or of the threat or whatever it was. So on Purim, when it was a physical threat, we make a Sudas Purim. On Pesach, when we were physically enslaved, we have a physical celebration. And Sukkot too, it has a benefit to our body. We were saved through the Ananei HaKav. And even Shavuos, which is when we give the Torah, which is, we might say, also a spiritual thing. There's an extra emphasis that we have to have a physical enjoyment. And the reason is because we have to show that we don't see the Torah as a burden, but even physically we feel that the Torah is a benefit to our lives. Fine. And so all the Yom Tovim. Chanukah remains unique and special in that it's a very, very, very spiritual kind of an observance. Now, to take that a little deeper and to appreciate that a little better, when we say that Chanukah is we commemorate in a spiritual way, not in a material, physical way, we have to appreciate that all the Yom Tovim, all the holidays, when we are being physical, it's not a license for just unchecked, physical, earthy partying. That's not Jewish. By a Yid, by a Jew, a Jew's material life and their spiritual life go together, and his or her spiritual life goes together, is unified. So when we have a Shabbos meal, for instance, or a Yom Tov meal, it's saturated with Divrei Torah, with singing to Hashem, and so on and so forth. We can sense the Ruchni together with the Gashmi. And that's because even the food itself, we appreciate that physical food is connected to spiritual food. When we have a meal, our meal, what's the main aspect of a meal? In order to be Yotzeh, Suda, what's the main thing of a Suda? Suda, the main basic element of a meal is bread and water, eating and drinking. So you have bread and water, lechem and mayim. And we know immediately that what? That bread and water, the Torah is compared to bread and water. Torah is compared to bread. L'chu lachmi balachmi, go have my bread, the Navi says. Hoi kol tzama l'chu lamayim, the Torah is compared to water. And we have many, many references that Torah is compared to water. So when we have a meal, a Jew recognizes and appreciates that he has more than a challah roll. He appreciates that he has a Torah roll. That in his challah is the Torah. And in the two are connected. Everything in our Yiddishkeit is connected. We understand that, for instance, on all the Yomim Tovim, even if we were physically, for instance, on Pesach, when we were liberated physically from the enslavement of Mitzrayim, but what's the pnimius? What's the pnimius of being liberated from Mitzrayim? From Egypt, we went to Matan Torah to receive the Torah. You can't separate the physical from the spiritual. So when we say that all the Yomim Tovim, it's a physical celebration, and therefore we give the body a license to party, it doesn't mean a license to party. It means that we join this physical together with the spirit, and we have a spiritual experience along with the body. Now, if we say that Chanukah is a ruchniistic celebration, what we mean is not just ruchni of Chanukah, spiritual of Chanukah, compared to the physicality of all the other Yomim Tovim. What we really mean to say is that Chanukah is spiritual even compared to the spiritual celebration of all the other holidays. In other words, Chanukah is ruchni sheberuchni, spirit of spirit. Other Yomim Tovim are also spiritual. A Jew is always spiritual. A Jew doesn't have a moment of his life that's just body without soul. Of course, everything is soul, body, soul and spirit and body go together. So there's always spiritual content through all of our celebrations. The chidush of Chanukah is that it is so ruchni, it is so spiritual, beyond. There was such a thick, dense darkness. That was people, we had what? We had Torah. We had a holy discipline. We had a holy knowledge. And here the Jewish people were faced with another form of knowledge, another form of wisdom. To make matters worse, the Yevanim put their fingerprints on the Torah. The reason why the Yevanim were able to, you see, the Yevanim went and countered. Their main challenge that they made for the Jewish people was they dismissed, why were they so successful? The answer was because they had the closest access to the Torah. No other nation had such access to the Torah. Until the Yevanim, the Torah was ours exclusively, and it was private. Others looked at it from a distance, so they couldn't soil it. They couldn't put their human grubby fingers on it because they were held at a distance, because it belonged to the Jewish people. 100 years before the story of Chanukah happened, something that the Gemara says is very tragic took place. See, Yavan is a beautiful language. It's the only language that halachically you're allowed to write a Torah. In another language, it's in Ksav Yavanis. It's halacha. Because the pasuk says, Yaft Elokim liyefes v'yishkoin b'holei shem. Yaft means the beauty of Yefes. Part of the beauty of Yefes, which Yavan is from Yefes, is its language. So the pasuk, the Chachamim learned out that the beauty of Yefes, the Yashkoin, can be shochein b'yaholei shem. And then there was Talmai HaMelech. I don't know how they refer to him in English. They have some fancy English name for him, so I'll let you research that. Nishnageya, we're talking Torah, so all this Greek stuff is Ptalma. What do they call him? I don't know what the name is. In any case, he asked for the Torah to be translated, and they translated the Torah into the Greek language, and it was called the Targum Hashivim, the Septo, I forgot the name, what it is. And they translated the Torah into those 70 languages. I'm sorry, into Greek. The rabbis had to do so. And the Mishnah says in Masechtas Sofrim, the Brisa says, that the day they translated the Torah into Greek, Kasha Lahem Yisroel was as difficult for the Jewish people. National commitment to a godly Torah, where a Yid is willing to die for the sake of Hashem's mitzvah. And to do mitzvahs that we totally don't understand, and do them and accept them because Hashem said so. That bothered him. Such a darkness we never had. This was really creeping into the deepest parts of the Jewish experience. A Jew is a Jew through learning Torah. And you know what it means when Kedushas HaTorah, when the holiness of Torah goes away? That the Torah is meaningless. To learn Torah just out of intellectual stimulation because it's interesting and the like, then it loses everything. How do you know? Alma of the Aretz, why was the land destroyed? What does the Navi say? Al Ozvam es Teirasi, they have forsaken my Torah. Rashi says, Shaloi Baruch, the Gemara says, Shaloi Baruchu b'Torah Tchila. They did not bless before they learned Torah. They didn't say Birchas HaTorah. Birchas HaTorah means, as the Bach says, they didn't feel Kedushas HaTorah. The Torah is holy. The Torah is godly. They were learning Torah like it would be any other science. For that, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. The Jewish people went to exile. Take God out of the Torah, and you have nothing. And that's what the Greeks succeeded in doing. And that's what it means. V'timu kol hashmanim. Shemen is chachma. Shemen is chachma satorah. We said earlier. Shemen is wisdom, the higher wisdom. They touched the wisdom with their hands. They applied Greek understanding to our Torah. They wanted us to learn a Greek Torah, not a Jewish Torah. Same Torah. Learn Baba Kama, learn Baba Basra, learn Rashba, learn Tosfos, learn all these things. But learn them as if you're learning just science, human rational thinking. And when Tosfos says something and it doesn't make sense to you because you don't understand it, you say Tosfos is wrong. I understand it better. Tosfos must have been a little tired when he said this. Or Rashi didn't really get it. I have a better pshat than Rashi. That's called learning Torah like a Greek. Without any understanding that our puny little minds are lucky that we can understand one word, because this is godly wisdom. And embedded and hidden in each word is an infinite knowledge and an infinite deep secret. But it didn't work. You know why it didn't work? Because what was the miracle we found? The miracle happened. We found one little pach shemen, one little jug of oil. And it was sacred. It was chasam. It was sealed. But it wasn't just a jug of oil. It was a jar of oil from the Kohen Gadol. That means, what did we say earlier? What is oil? Oil represents the Torah in its purest, highest, deepest, most divine state. And especially a pach oil that's sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol is the epitome of holiness. He's the one who goes into the Holy of Holies. The symbol of someone who communicates with God. That's Yom Kippur, purity, holiness, transcendence, transcending the human experience. No man can be in the tent when the Kohen Gadol goes in, because the Kohen Gadol, when he goes in, he's not a man. He transcends the human experience. The Eibishter elevates him into the godly, into something totally beyond. That's his seal. That's his oil. And what does it really mean? It means this pach shemen, that's pnimius of Torah. The inner secret of the Torah. When Jews lose the sensitivity to Torah and they begin to chas v'sholom appreciate the Torah like a Greek, there's no other choice but to open up the jar of that sacred jar of oil and to give them the taste of the Torah in a state when it's not contaminatable. It's because when you taste the secrets of the secrets, over there you can't say it's not godly, because inherently it's godly. When you're learning laws pertaining to how you should resolve a conflict between two people, two neighbors, So even though that too is divine law, but over there you can say it's human reasoning. You can approach it with the coarseness, with the grubbiness of what we call seichel anushi, human mind. But when you're exposed to something so esoteric, something so deep, something so inherently elokus getlach, completely godly, so then you're automatically awed. And you realize you're dealing with something of a complete other nature. That is why dafka on Chanukah, we needed to access the shemen, the deepest, innermost, highest, purest point of the Torah, because only that can save the Jewish people. And, as we said before, the oil of Chanukah, however, is something, as we said before, it's too godly to digest. It's such a high level of elokus, of Torah, it's too godly to digest. And therefore, at best, as we said earlier, you can take little drops of oil and mix it into other foods. That means, simply, after the story of Chanukah, you don't find that all the Jewish people started studying mysticism. Don't find it. However, mysticism picked up. Later, after 200 years later, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, you have Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and the book of Zohar. But it didn't start with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Obviously, there was a tradition. And the little bit that was filtering out, that means there was a passage of the deepest, and it was becoming more revealed, enough that there was a selected few that were tasting it and learning it, and this was firing them up to be in a very, very godly state. And this, of course, enabled all the Jewish people that were connected to them to also sense the godly, even in the nigla, even in the revealed part of the Torah and to the daily study. But it still remained a secret. It still remained a secret. Till when? Till the next Yom Tov in Chodesh Kislev came along, which is about 2,000 years after Chanukah. By Chassidim, we have another Yom Tov on Chodesh Kislev, also in the latter half of Chodesh Kislev. Kislev Bechlal is the middle of the winter. Physical time reflects the spiritual. In Eretz Yisroel and in the entire northern hemisphere, which we go by Eretz Yisroel, Kislev is in the winter, very long nights, very short days. Again, the physical reality is showing that there's a lot of darkness. So Kislev, the Yomim Tovim of Kislev, Chanukah, is indicating on a power to confront darkness. And remember the rule, the more challenging something is, the deeper you have to go. So we had to get the oil. But the chiddush that happened just 200 years ago is that a new teaching suddenly was revealed to the world. It's not new, it's just new in that we never knew it. First of all, Jewish mysticism started spreading tremendously about 400 years ago, but that's the wine of the Torah. The oil of the Torah was revealed through the Baal Shem Tov, and then took on a whole new powerful surge. On the 19th of Kislev, when Reb Shneur Zalman of Liadi was liberated. And something magnificent, an unbelievable gift and a treasure was revealed. And that is Toras HaChasidus. For those who didn't study it and are listening to this, first of all, you listen to my CDs or classes, you've been listening to this because that's all I talk is the mystical elements of Chassidus. That's mostly what we're talking about over here. So you did learn it. But it still doesn't come close to actually sitting down with a book of Tanya and learning it. Or learning Torah, or Lakutei Torah, but I would of course recommend learn Tanya first. So you open up your eyes to the deepest secrets, to the innermost. All I can say to you is, it's such a shame to be a Jew without these secrets. Judaism is so much geschmacker. It is so much more alive. It is so much deeper. It is so much richer. When the inner world of your own soul is opened up for you, when the inner teachings, the deepest teachings, the Torah as it is completely one with God. And like the Alter Rebbe once came to a town of Shneur Zalman and he said, Tam, Huriyu, Kitoiva. That's not just a Benny Friedman song. Verzicht wird dir sehen, der Eibishter ist gut. It's the words of the Alter Rebbe. Taste that godliness is good. Why did it come? Because the last 200 years before Mashiach comes is the worst darkness. And what kind of darkness? The last 200 years, this tremendous increase in the revelation of human sciences. We had the great enlightenment and the great scientists, and many elements of science challenged the validity of Torah. And if you don't learn on Chassidus, I'm sorry to say this, but I am going to say it today. If you don't learn Chassidus and you're a smart, intelligent person, it's very easy to be an apikoros. And I mean an apikoros that goes to Mincha, and to Ma'ariv, and to Shachris, and puts on tefillin. But don't believe that the Eibishter created the world in 6 days. And then the 7th day he rested. Make up all kinds of stories. It means days, means millions of years, and Baba Meises and Geschäften. Shabbos is 6 days, the 7th day is Shabbos because Sheishis Yom and Masasha. Now there are people that are very conflicted. I mean, science says. This is something very godly and very holy, and they were misnagid against it. As we said earlier, if the Torah is godly, and it's revealed to us through godly people, through Nevi'im. And when we say Nevi'im, I don't mean the Nevi'im of 3,000 years ago. I mean the Nevi'im of recent. You see Nevi'im of recent? Yeah. Nevi'im. Talmidei Baal Shem Tov were Nevi'im. The Baal HaTanya complains how come the people are coming to ask him Gashmiistic problems. He says, Gashmiistic, have you ever heard you go ask a rabbi? A Rav, you come ask a Shaila. Where have you heard something like this? He says, the only time this was done was by the Nevi'im. They would come to ask Gashmiistic problems. But then the Alter Rebbe continued seeing the Chassidim on their Gashmiistic problems. So the Chassidim said, from here you see, and the Lubavitch Rebbe brings it, that Talmidei Baal Shem Tov were Nevi'im. Then the Lubavitch Rebbe announced in 1990 that he's a Navi. Why am I saying this? Am I looking for tsaris? Am I looking for people to say, hey, Rabbi Wolf, you're crazy? No, I'm not. I'm scared that I know something and not to share it. Because the Lubavitch Rebbe said to all of his Chassidim, I count myself as one of his Chassidim, and he said, you should be mefarsim in the entire world that Nevuah returned. How can I not say it? He says to be mefarsim this. I mean mefarsim it. Obviously, today's days we see the power of the Lubavitch Rebbe in the world. What he accomplished. How many Jews how he turned over the entire world, and he continues to turn over the entire world. He said it's a nevuah. But then what happened? Because Gimel Tammuz happened, and the Rebbe, whatever happened, it created such a last challenge before Mashiach comes that even Chassidim became afraid, and everybody went into silence. And there's one problem. Keep on forgetting the message of Chanukah. Lashkicham Toirasecha. If you don't believe that Torah is the Eibishter's Torah and it's absolute true, even when you have contradictions, well, so you have a contradiction. Is the Ch'dar Shailas, you have a contradiction. Things don't make any sense, you have a Shaila. Okay, so what? The Eibishter will always win. Torah is always true. The word of the Navi is always emes. If you don't see it immediately, zesta nicht immediately. So you don't see it immediately. So there is a concealment. Look in the end of Daniel, on the second to the last pasuk, on the pasuk Ashrei Machaka, and see what Rashi says over there. I'll give you homework. I'm not going to say it over here. You look at what Rashi says, second to the last pasuk Ashrei Machaka in Daniel, of how many years there can be a concealment from when the Geula is kind of announced until the Geula actually materializes. We don't have to wait so long. I guarantee you we don't have to wait so long. But the story of Chanukah should tell us that we can't mess around with the emes of Torah. Shemin Tahir, pure Torah. It's getlich, it's emes. There's no doubt in the world. We said this last week in the Haftarah. The Eibusha doesn't do anything in the world if he wasn't megalas soidoi l'avadav hanavim. That's the emes. Eibusha should help that already this Chanukah we should celebrate the Chanukah Sabis Hamikdash Hashlishi, and we should already be zeicha to shemen kachiv meshachtiv of Melech HaMashiach and the oil of Pnimiyas HaTorah that floods the world. We have to. Our lesson from all of this is two things. Number one, until the Geula is not here, we don't have any satisfaction of life. We're burning with frustration, like Yaakov Avinu. Ma'at v'yamim. There's no satisfying moment until Mashiach is here, and we don't settle for the luxuries of Beverly Hills, no matter what it is. I mean, whatever, all the geschmack that Los Angeles has to offer. Jewish kosher holy things. And secondly, is that we take Chassidus seriously and we learn. If you want a good reference where to learn, there's so much to learn. There's so much things, but you go to my website, Maayon.com. You can learn hundreds of hours of shiurim, every parsha, hundreds of hours of the deepest. I'm not teaching my own. I'm just giving over hours. A Thursday night shiur, hours and hours of Chassidus. I might say sometimes you'll start listening, it might be a little over your head, but don't get scared. Read once, listen twice. You'll be blown away and you'll become such a happy Jew. You know what to do with yourself, the amount of joy you'll have. Because this touches your neshama, it opens you up, it opens Yiddishkeit. May we merit to see the Geula Shalema take off a miyad mamish now, and a very, 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 very happy Chanukah.